Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Fandom Zone podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Charles Skaggs, back in the Fandom Zone once again, ready to talk some more Watchmen as we get very, very close to our series or season, hopefully season finale. And I'm joined, of course, by my wonderful co-host, longtime friend, and fellow Watchmen watcher, Jesse Jackson. How you doing, Jesse?
I am great, Charles. I get sad every time you go away.
Aw.
You take a little piece of me with you. Yes.
Every time you go.
That was
away.
Such a good use of songs. Yeah. It was so well done. I like Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Yep.
No, that was trivia.
That was a cover version, by the way.
It was? I did not notice that.
Yeah, that is. I'm trying to remember who originally sings it. I want to say
Paul Young.
Paul Young. Yes.
But, was it Hall and Oates though, doing it on Watchmen?
Yeah, it was. It was Hall and yeah, that was a Hall and Oates version. But I think that's Paul Young's song that they're covering.
Yes, it is.
But otherwise, here everybody, welcome back for episode 171. We're going to talk an almost religious awe.
Yes.
Another great title from the Watchmen comic book series. I'll talk about that more in a minute. Aired on December 1st, 2019. So we're kind of playing catch up again.
Yes.
Because our schedules were not working out. So apologies for not losing track again. But
yeah, we're going to, if we can talk a little bit, we're going to have the same problem with Doctor Who. Sunday nights are tough. Because Sunday mornings are our jams. Sunday mornings we're blocked off. Charles and I do our podcasting, and so when there's a show Sunday night, it makes it a little bit more difficult to find time. So we're gonna have to figure it out.
We'll figure it out because I'm more flexible. I'm willing to use that DVR technology. So
absolutely.
This episode written by Stacey Osai Kuffour and Claire Keuchel. So this is the first episode not written by Damon Lindelof.
Okay.
So I thought that was kind of interesting, but it's still a solid episode, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Another great one. Directed by David Semmel, who's also new to Watchmen. And I want to get your general thoughts on this before we get into our discussion. So Jesse, what did you think of this episode 7?
I really loved it. I think everything about this series continues to get better. It's clear. There is a few things I didn't like about this episode, but they were too small for me to nitpick too much. For the first time, I thought the Adrian Vett subplot was not needed.
Yeah.
But everything else was just really great. I almost don't want another season. Because
blasphemy.
I know, but it's just you there's just something about you set the bar so high.
Right.
Are you going to be able to do it again? And I do get the feeling that unless they can come up with another story that is this solid, I don't know if they'll go for another one, because I'm sure HBO wants this, because as we tweeted, viewers are really high on this.
Yeah, apparently this is one of HBO's highest rated shows in a good while.
Yeah.
I can't remember what the last show was that got this kind of initial positive reaction. And I want a season 2, if only to find out what happened to Dan Dryberg.
Yeah, good, because they have
We know he's in prison.
Yeah.
But I want to know the events about how he got there, why he and Laurie are separated, why she decided to end up working for the FBI.
Well, we kind of know that a little bit because of Peteypedia.
Yeah, but that's Peteypedia. I want to see it on screen.
And I know Lindelof has said you will not see Dan this season.
Right.
So, yeah. So I agree.
Keywords being this season.
Yes. Yeah, they have not announced the second season, and I know now we're arguing about too much greatness.
Yes.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, if they give a second season, I'm just saying that's how much I'm loving this.
Right.
It's just like, this is so good. And how about you? Were you happy with the episode?
I was very happy with it. It was nice to get some more background about Angela in Vietnam when she was younger, a child. And we got more, obviously, of the modern Angela with Lady Trieu and Beyond, who are Lady Trieu and Beyond are two very enigmatic characters that are just one of the greater mysteries of this season. And I'm always looking forward to finding out a little bit more about their background. And we basically got a much greater explanation of the true villain behind this series.
Yes.
And what their plot is.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about that because I have four topics I want to talk about. I want to talk about young Angela, and then second topic I want to talk about the modern day Angela, the older Angela, Lady Trieu and Beyond, and then third topic Laurie, Jane, and Joaquin.
Okay.
So Jane Crawford, Joaquin, and Laurie. And then fourth topic, we have to talk Cal.
Okay.
Because there's a nice little revelation at the end confirming what a lot of people were suspecting online.
Yeah, I did not see this till a couple weeks ago, I guess 2 weeks ago, where, on my phone, when I go to Google, it tells me, it knows what I normally Google about. Okay. So it gives us, and it suggested, 5 theories before tonight's episode. And the first theory was that Cal was Dr. Manhattan. Spoilers. And that's the first I'd heard of that. And, I think they played fair with us, and it was great. Yeah. And you said from the beginning, you thought there was something going on with him.
Well, remember, I was focused on okay, what's the deal with his accident? Mm-hmm. Something's up with that.
Yeah.
Because they just kind of casually dropped this information on us. And I figured, well, there has to be more of the story. What's the accident?
Yeah.
Because that sounds kind of important. And obviously, I think we're going to get the payoff of that. We're going to get that story in our next episode.
Yes.
And we'll talk about that when we talk about what's coming up next on Fandom Zone at the end of the episode. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. All right. So let's get into our little discussion. Obviously, we've got a lot of the characters that have been introduced already in this episode, although we get like an older June Abar, and we get young Angela. We get to see more of Angela's parents, Marcus Abar and Elise Abar, as we get to the story of more of how they died, which I thought was interesting. Yes. Some trivia this time. I want to talk about the title, and then Almost Religious Awe. If you're wondering about that title, it's from Dr. Manhattan's own recollections describing the reaction of the Vietnamese soldiers that surrendered to him when America won the Vietnam War. And this was, of course, depicted in the original Watchmen series back in 1985, 1986. The quote is taken directly from Watchmen number 4, page 20, panel 2, if you're curious, and where Dr. Manhattan recites the line, describing their reaction to him. And he says, describes it as their terror of me balanced by an almost religious awe.
Yeah.
Where they kind of see themselves kind of like bowing down to him in subservience. And they view him as a god, essentially.
Yes.
And because of his great power. And then second bit of trivia I want to talk about, when we see that Dr. Manhattan marionette being controlled by a puppeteer.
Mm-hmm.
That's a reference to a line said by Dr. Manhattan when Laurie, in the original comic book, when Laurie asked if he's just a puppet following a script in issue number 9, if you're curious about that. And he responds, "We're all puppets, Laurie. I'm just a puppet who can see the strings."
Yes.
So a very cool quote by Alan Moore, writer of Watchmen, in that one. And some significance, I think, in this episode.
Yes.
All right. And probably the upcoming Watchmen episodes. So let's dive right into our main topics. Topic number 1, young Angela. So let's talk about Angela as a kid in Saigon, Vietnam. Vietnam, of course, being the U.S.'s 51st state in this alternate reality where, thanks to Dr. Manhattan, America won the Vietnam War instead of losing it and took it on as its 51st state. So what was your take about getting more of young Angela in this episode?
I really liked seeing young Angela. I love her optimist of, growing up in Vietnam, she did not see a lot of people that looked like her.
Right.
And so that's why she wanted to watch that VHS tape. And I think it's interesting that her dad, because of his background with his father, aka Hooded Justice,
yes,
you don't trust people with masks. We're not going to watch that.
Yeah.
And the idea that her parents were killed in front of her, very Batman-ish.
Yes.
So I liked it. I liked everything about the storyline. I thought it was interesting. The Vietnamese, lady detective or cop, giving her a badge saying, "Come look for me." And then, of course, how poorly she's treated in the orphanage.
Right.
And then you think she's going to get some hope. And then she's dashed again. So
yeah, when her grandmother, the older June, Hooded Justice's wife, who left him, as we found out, comes to claim her.
Yes.
And because her son is dead, and
right.
So Angela ends up in this orphanage as a result. The problem is, after they sit down and have a nice meal or something, they go off and get into a taxi cab to go to the airport, presumably. And Angela's grandmother walks around to the other side of the taxi and apparently has a heart attack.
Yeah, because she had talked about during the meal, she had a small little stroke. Nothing to worry about.
Right.
And then obviously it was.
Yeah, apparently.
So, yeah.
So I'm kind of curious about, okay, so if Angela's grandmother died, how did she get from Vietnam to America?
Well, and I think she grew up in Vietnam.
Right.
And then the story, was that her and Chau got tired of being in Vietnam and there was an opening at, so that's why she moved.
But obviously that's not true though. Because especially if you check out the Pediapedia, little mini site that HBO is kind enough to provide, because we have a nice little hospital report of Chau.
Yes.
So the question is, that apparently they just randomly met, or that, that she was an officer that found him.
Yes.
So I'm wondering, obviously, maybe we'll get more of the story next week about how that happened.
Yeah.
But I am kind of curious how she got from Vietnam to America. Well, it is America, I guess. It's the 51st state, but
yeah.
The mainland. How's that?
Yeah. What I was wondering is why Tulsa, and was it because she knew her grandmother was there, was from there? What about that kind of led to it? And it is going to be curious if they can show us why they made that choice.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens.
Now, Pediapedia does say, though, there was a large population of African Americans who migrated to Vietnam, but not the other way around.
Right.
So we'll see how, again, how they ended it back up in Tulsa. Well, I guess it's kind of home because her grandmother came from there.
Yeah.
And her grandfather. So,
right.
All right. One of the things that is most significant about young Angela's tale is this videotape, this VHS tape, Sister Night, that apparently Angela was obsessed with for some reason. Apparently, presumably because being in Vietnam, there weren't many people that looked like her.
Yeah, that's what I mentioned, and I read somewhere else. Yes,
So, it's Sister Night, and with this tagline on the video, which I love, the nun with the mother effing gun.
Yes.
Which is one of the track titles by Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross on the soundtrack, their score.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So it's the kind of music that's playing when Angela was chasing the guy who used the oil. I can't remember the guy's the nickname they gave him, but lube guy yeah. So when she was chasing him, that's that music.
Mm-hmm.
Her Sister Night theme song, essentially.
Yes,
which is very cool. But Angela, we find out as a kid, she was obsessed with this video. She kept trying to watch it, but her parents, of course, wouldn't let her because I guess it's R-rated and very violent. And even the clerk knows that she tries to get this from, knows that Angela's tried this before, and tells her, your parents aren't going to let you.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. And he says, and I'll be here, and she just continues to be optimistic.
Right.
Like, okay, this is the time I'm going to be able to convince them.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, from like this video rental store, I guess. And, but of course, that doesn't work out. And, we see her with her family, her parents. Was it what's his name? Marcus Abar. So Marcus is in the military, and they seem like very lovely people. But unfortunately, you talked about the tragedy takes this turn, and her parents are killed by this kind of suicide bomber, who's saying death to the invaders.
Yeah, what I get the feeling of, and I think you'll agree with me, Charles, is this is similar to like the IRA. There is this whole system that wants freedom for Vietnam.
Right.
That they want the ability to not be a state. They want to, be, have their own freedoms. So I think that was kind of interesting and a nice subplot from my perspective.
Yeah. And she ends up, of course, in that orphanage. And we find out, interestingly enough, that she keeps two items. She actually has two possessions that she keeps under her pillow.
Yes.
The badge that the cop gave her when they took her her parents' murderer out and killed him.
Yeah.
And she has the Sister Night videotape.
Yes.
I kind of wonder if she ever got to watch it. I'm guessing she did when she was older.
Yeah, I'm thinking so too.
But she still hangs on to that. That's her memento.
Yes.
Of them. So it's kind of interesting, and obviously that stuck with her, which is why she takes on the Sister Night identity as an adult.
Yeah.
It's not quite a bat flying through a window of Bruce Wayne's study, but it happens.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Yes.
So anything else about young Angela before we move on?
Nope. I think that was really well done. I did not write down that. I did not write as many quotes down as I could have because I think this was. I've watched I've watched it 3 times.
Yeah.
And I've got my notes, and each time I get sucked into the story. But there is
so you kind of forget to get the. It was like, there was quotes.
I'm supposed to keep the notes.
I get in this habit of like, okay, I watch it live the first time. I don't do anything but watch it.
Yeah.
And then the second viewing is when I have the closed captions up on my computer.
Yeah.
And then I can get down the quotes.
Oh, that's a sharp one.
And that's how I do it.
So what I liked is the whole, but when whose memory was that? and like, oh, it was my birthday party. I got a pony.
Yeah.
She's very sarcastic and not
Talking,
quick
of course,
to
about
trust people.
about the older Angela. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. All right. So while we're on the topic of the older Angela, let's dive right into our second topic.
Mhm.
So the modern day Angela, 2019 Angela, and Lady Trieu and beyond.
Yes.
Who we find out obviously is a clone of her
Yes.
dead mother that she
Yes.
is apparently reinstalling memories for, so that she can have her parents back again, or at least.
Yes.
And so before we get into that, let's talk about a little bit of Angela, who's recovering from her big overdose
Yes.
of
Of
nostalgia
nostalgia.
pills. Yeah, and a serious nostalgia overdose here. And apparently she's been coming in and out. Her memories keep kind of resetting, but Lady Trieu is providing this treatment so that Angela's original memories can be locked back in.
Yeah, they did a really cool video
Yeah.
of showing that they've established that Angela's asked these questions multiple times each
Right.
time she wakes, and so they give her
An injection. It's like a tutorial injection about
that explains what they're going to go in there,
yeah.
and they have to exterminate the false memories and put in the correct memories. And
it's a process called nemodialysis.
Yeah. And I thought of a little bit, if we were going to believe if the worst about someone, you could actually assume that they created the problem with nostalgia so that they could sell the cure. But in this case,
like most pharmaceuticals.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in this case, I really did think they were a little bit, the billionaire, the lady.
Yeah.
I
Lady
think
Trieu,
I think Lady Trieu was a little bit naive that people would want to do this, and then that's why they came up with the cure to try to fix this.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that was a plan, like New Coke or something. So
I don't know about you, but I thought of when that tutorial video was going on. I kind of thought of that popular meme with Captain America, where it's that instructional video in the Avengers movie where he sits down, like he turns the chair around and sits down, and he's like, "So you've done this." So it's like, "So you've essentially overdosed on nostalgia pills."
Yeah. So let me tell you how we're going to fix this.
Exactly. So I thought that was cute. Angela's trying to, as she's recovering her memories, though, Angela is still the cop. She's still trying to figure out what Lady Trieu is doing, and because she's kind of wondering, well, what's Lady Trieu's involvement in all this? Lady Trieu says, well, hey, Laurie from the FBI, Laurie Blake, contacted me for help, but Angela kind of is trying to find out what the deal is with the Millennium Clock, and we have Beyond kind of giving her the psychological tests, kind of showing her two pictures and, like getting her reactions of those. It's almost kind of like when Rorschach was getting the psychiatric evaluation.
Yeah, it was. And I thought that was really well done. The way that the way that she kind of covered that, I loved, because no one flies a kite by themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I liked all of that.
And I liked Beyond kind of pointing out to Angela that about her being a cop and hiding her identity from her kids. Angela says that, well, and I have this quote, but she talks about how she wants to protect her kids, and Beyond's point is, well, if you don't want your kids to worry, then why are you a cop?
Yeah, I thought that was a really well done.
And the way kind of like,
Yeah, because the way they said, really this is to protect you. No, it's to protect them.
Right.
Well, if it was really them, yeah. So I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, one of the things I really enjoy about this series is that it's really exploring the concept of masks and secret identities and the reasons for them.
Yes.
And putting a really fresh spin on those, in my opinion.
I agree.
So
I agree.
As a big superhero fan, I'm really finding that interesting.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this more as we continue and probably in our wrap up. I really applaud. I never was unhappy with Damon Lindelof and Carlton Cruise. I did not have the anger with the Lost finale that a lot of people did.
Yeah.
And I really was a big Leftovers fan. And so I have pulled for both of them. But I love the idea that he said, I'm not going to do Watchmen unless I can do something worthy of that legacy. And they could still screw it up. They've got 2 episodes left.
But he feels he can do something worthy of the legacy because he's made it.
Yeah, and so far, I think they have lived up to that. I think he has done he has taken that and not just done a really good cover, because you could make the argument the Watchmen movie is a great cover of the original series if we're talking musical terms.
Yeah, it's a retelling. It's adapting it it's a film adaptation of the comic book series. But this is a sequel.
Yes.
It's something new using the concepts.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like comparing classic Star Trek to Star Trek: The Next Generation, in my view. It's something that takes place later.
Yeah.
It's still set in that same world, but it's not a rehash. It's something different.
Yeah, absolutely.
You have different characters, different, motivations and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's turning out to be far better than I think we could have hoped.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I don't know. I thought it was great that Angela keeps saying she wants to see her grandfather. Want to see your grandfather. And they're like, well, no, you've got too much of his memories. If you got in front of him, where would you end and he begins? And she is, being a cop, obsessed with, I've got to get here. I got to get here. I got to hear. And then when you get the reveal of what's behind that locked door, that I did not have that in the betting pool.
Yeah, I don't think anybody did. So what was your reaction to seeing that elephant that was essentially plugged into Angela?
You're like, what the F?
Now remember, elephants have great memories, right? That's the whole gag.
Oh yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I just
remember an elephant never forgets, right?
Yeah.
So presumably, that's the gag that. An elephant, or that Angela, that her memories would be helped by giving, whatever from an elephant.
See, I was thinking because it was big enough that it would have a lot of blood.
Yeah.
So that you could handle the cleaning of us. But no, I like your theory of an elephant supposedly having a strong memory.
Right.
Makes so much more sense.
Yeah. I don't know how scientifically valid that is.
But I think it's perfect for what it's saying. I agree.
Right. But for whatever reason, either it worked or that whole treatment was just a complete BS.
Yeah.
But if that if it was complete BS, then why even bother hooking her up to an elephant? Why not just hook it up to a machine or just have the cables left in a room somewhere?
Well, or you could have just it
had to have a purpose.
Almost like dialysis when your kidney's not working.
Yeah.
So it could have done that. So I think it's got to do something.
Well, and that's what it's described as, memory dialysis.
Yes.
Where they're kind of flushing out the bad and putting in the good.
Yeah.
So maybe they just kind of flush it in with elephant stuff. Yeah. So maybe she'll come out with elephant powers. Oh no. If that's what would happen if Stan Lee was writing that. I'm just saying.
Yes.
All right. So we get Angela, she sneaks out after she finds out this whole deal with the elephant. she ends up takes this elevator, finds herself in a hallway, and she goes to this large dark chamber with this globe of the world in the center. And when she touches it, like whatever various countries, she sees those phone calls to Dr. Manhattan, including Laurie's that we saw earlier in episode 3.
So what a great reveal, Charles, because you're going, okay, the whole reason we're having this is so that we can have Laurie, tell this joke and this narrative of finding out more about her. But now we find out that Lady Trieu has ability. She's the one who sets this up. She gets the ability, and who knows what data knowledge she has amassed because of this.
Right. She's basically used it as a data mining tool.
Yeah.
And as a result, she's probably learned a lot.
I would think so.
And maybe in the process, this is how she found out, looking back now, she found out about what the 7th Cavalry is up to. And we'll talk about that here in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But she's telling Angela essentially that, that the 7th Cavalry's plan is to capture Dr. Manhattan and destroy him. And then they're going to become him.
Yes.
So she feels it's up to her to save humanity.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things I thought was interesting about this episode, as far as revealing information about Lady Trieu, she says that someone, like she kind of hints that someone is going to be arriving to help her be a part of this, or to help save humanity.
Right. And
I think, a lot of us have been kind of wondering, well, is she referring to Ozymandias? In which I kind of hinted, remember, in our previous episode, about the possibility that Ozymandias, or that Lady Trieu is Ozymandias' daughter.
See, so I think it could be,
because when we were talking about her worship.
Yeah.
Why she has the statue of Ozymandias.
Yeah.
So I think a part of her plan is to bring Ozymandias to Earth. And remember, that thing fell from the sky when she purchased that property.
And so that could be...
Ozymandias in there. That fell.
Yeah. See, I was thinking that somehow Dr. Manhattan was her father. I don't know why, just because she's so smart, and because she's talking about her father's going to be here. I like your theory better.
Well, because, Ozymandias is the world's smartest man, apparently.
Yes, so. And she's the smartest woman.
Right.
Because, I have thought about the comedian having someone pregnant in Vietnam, and he ends up killing the mother, and you wonder later, did Dr. Manhattan somehow make her come back alive, and that's where the daughter came from, and that's why she thinks of Dr. Manhattan as her father. Right. That was my theory, but I like yours better.
Yeah, she seems to be obsessed with Ozymandias. That statue kind of proved it to me. So that's what kind of makes me think that, that he's her father, and that's who she's waiting for.
I agree.
Because remember, she said that she wants both of her parents with her. And Angela asked her, well, okay, so where's your dad? Mm-hmm. And she says something along the lines of that, well, he'll be here soon.
Yeah, and that's what I thought of
Dr. Manhattan.
But I like yours better. But I like your theory.
Well, we'll see who's right. We'll see who's right. I think the Dr. Manhattan is certainly a possibility here.
Yeah, but the idea, if you throw in if he showed up, that's why she wanted to own the land.
Right.
That's why we wanted that. We'll see. Yeah.
All right. Anything else about these characters?
Nope.
Oh, well, first I have to ask, what did you make of the revelation that Beyond is a clone?
So we kind of have thought that, right?
Yeah.
I think
we were kind of wondering that she was a clone of her.
Right.
But not a clone of her mother.
Yeah. So I was happy with that. I think it's interesting.
It didn't surprise you, though?
No, it didn't surprise me. I really like her daughter.
Yeah.
Or slash mom.
Yeah.
She's very likable. And so I think that's pretty cool. It's a little
creepy.
It's a little.
It's a lot creepy.
Note. Yeah, I just like the idea that it's this little point that you had not expected to happen, and you wonder how all of that is going to tie together.
Yeah.
I
mean, it's that kind of, it's so crazy. And even Angela is just like, really? What?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't believe what you're telling me. But anyway. All right. So let's move on. Topic number 3. Let's talk about Laurie, Jane Crawford, who gets a big revelation in this episode, and Joe Keane, who apparently has a plan with the 7th Cavalry. So Laurie, to kind of set this up, Laurie ends up going outside, she's kind of waiting outside the Crawford Ranch to talk to Jane. And the two of them kind of, Jane invites her in.
Yes.
And Laurie goes there with the pretense, at least, to go, look, we've kind of find out who killed your husband and why. So she tells him about that. And then ultimately, Jane reveals that, hey, she's part of this whole conspiracy. So what was your reaction to all that?
So I wasn't shocked. I thought she might be. I did love the matter-of-fact way. Well, we were going to go to the presidency, but we decided to shoot further.
Yeah.
And then...
That was small potatoes, she said.
Yeah. My only... I expect more from Laurie to just stand, while she's trying to hit that click, to not go, what the hell? And so I was a little surprised. I think the idea, and she later talks about that, who has a trap door,
right,
was funny. So that was my only.
That was a funny scene because there's that great scene where, all right, they're sitting in Jane's living room.
Yes.
And Laurie's on this couch or whatever, and Jane reveals, okay, she confesses to everything, and she's so matter of fact about it, like, well, I guess I wasn't supposed to confess so soon, huh? And she goes, she pulls out what looks like a garage door opener from the 80s.
Yes, it does, doesn't it?
And she clicks this thing. It doesn't work the first time. So she clicks it again, still doesn't work. It kind of jostles a little bit. Yeah. And Laurie's just like, what are you doing? And then she presses it a third time. Yeah. And sends her through this trap door. Mm-hmm. So, and that's one of the things Laurie talks to Joe Keane about, like, who has a trap door in their living room?
Yeah, it
was a very funny scene.
I love Jean Smart so much, and in almost everything she's in.
Right.
But I'm tired.
That's one of my quotes.
Yeah. I just if you want me to do this, then good. Just do whatever. But and I really love that. I love her just being disgusted and just tired and
weary.
Weary is the right word.
Weary of the superhero life.
Yeah. So I liked it a lot.
No, I love that Laurie made that connection. That when she keeps playing back Angela's words that she uttered while she was under tripping balls on nostalgia. Yeah. She keeps playing it back on like an old Dale Cooper style dictaphone from Twin Peaks. Yeah. And she makes the connection that, okay, Cyclops is probably just this, like the 7th Cavalry is just a rebranded Cyclops.
Yes.
So, which is kind of important, and it kind of brings everything together that, hey, this conspiracy has been around since back in the Hooded Justice days. Yeah. And Laurie obviously describes it as a racist cult, but and talks to Jane about, well, I guess it would be remiss of me if I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't at least consider the possibility that your husband might be a white supremacist.
Yes. I really liked that.
And we know that Judd felt that Klan robe was his legacy.
Yes. And I thought it was very interesting to see. It turns out that, their plan is they've got to take care of things because, I've got that quote, the balance is tipped too far. The scale is tipped too far.
Yeah. It's a very, white supremacist, very racist attitude.
Yes, it is.
And definitely not endorsed by this show.
Yeah.
But part of the, one of the things that Laurie kind of tips to with Jane is she says, along with the lines with that, that Senator Joe Keene engineered the white knight so that the cops would wear masks so that nobody would be able to like distinguish between the good guys and the bad guys.
Yeah.
Because everybody's covering their faces.
And that was brought up in like the second episode where Laurie asked the, joke, or, how do you tell the difference between a masked vigilante and a thing?
Yeah, exactly.
I can't either. Yeah.
That was, again, that's great writing because they did establish that early on with that. And so you kind of saw how Laurie was at least considering that stuff in her head.
Absolutely. Yes.
And it kind of worked out that way. Now, obviously, when she wakes up in the 7th Cavalry base, she sees that the 7th Cavalry operatives are constructing a giant cage,
right?
Presumably for Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
And Keene comes over, says he didn't expect that Hooded Justice was going to be the one that killed Judd. And go ahead.
Yeah, and also did not see that Hooded Justice was African American. Didn't see that coming.
Right.
Both of those.
But and he says, he talks about he wants to be a blue. Like essentially he's like, it's not a good place for a white guy, like you said.
Yeah.
He wants to be a blue one. So his plan, it sounds like at least the 7th Cavalry's plan is to make a whole bunch of Dr. Manhattans. And Keene wants to become one as well.
So this plan never works. I'm going to sound like, Rocky on Bullwinkle. That plan never works. This trick never works. I mean, do you not think people have tried to duplicate that already?
Well, they said earlier in the season, like around episode 1, they had this news report where the Russians were working on an intrinsic field generator.
Yeah.
So, which is the accident that created Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah.
So, you would think everybody would be like trying to make their own Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah, but, you're just going to get a dead person. We don't know why this worked the way it did.
Well, and Lady Trieu is concerned that they might actually pull this off.
Yes.
So
she is a little bit worried. Yeah.
So apparently this for just being what is apparently, just a bunch of white supremacists somewhere.
Yeah.
Apparently they're smart enough to have figured this out.
And didn't you just love, at least I did.
To at least threaten the possibility of it.
Yeah. I love the whole idea of the idea that, we've got to look and see what these people are doing. We're worried about them. And the line where I know you told me not to say it, but yes, I'm trying to save the world.
Right.
I know you told me not to say that, but yes, that's what I'm trying to do. So we're getting the feeling that she is, and Watchmen is never totally white hats and black hats, good guy or bad guy. But you're getting the feeling if there is a hero, she is one of them. That Lady Trieu truly is trying to do the right things.
Or in kind of the Ozymandias kind of way, especially if he's her father.
Yeah.
Views herself as the hero.
Yeah.
Of the story.
Right.
because remember the villain views himself as the hero of the story.
Absolutely.
So
yes.
we don't know that Lady Trieu might try to, in the process of trying to prevent the 7th Cavalry from achieving their goal,
Yeah.
that she might not want to use that to her own advantage.
Sure.
I would not entirely trust her.
I wouldn't either.
Especially if she is Ozymandias' kid, because, hey, she could be just as crazy as he is.
Absolutely.
All right. All right. So anything else about these characters before we move on to our 4th and final topic?
No.
All right. Let's talk about Cal.
Okay.
All right. So Cal, we kind of see early in the episode where he's concerned, obviously, about Angela. He drives up to the Trieu facility. He sees Red Scare and Pirate Jenny parked outside.
Yes.
And asks if Angela's there. And, Red Scare's like, no, just go home.
Yeah.
And he's like, screw that. He drives in anyway. He basically asked to see his wife. The security guard puts out this hologram disc on the ground. And Beyond speaks through this, saying that they can't grant him access for his own safety while they activate the clock.
Yes.
But now here's the thing though, if Lady Trieu knows that Cal is Dr. Manhattan, as she kind of really implies that she does, why would they be concerned about that?
So I don't know. And does she know?
I mean, does that question make sense?
Yes, it does. And you wonder, does she know that it's Cal?
Yeah.
Or does she
or is she just keeping up a pretense?
Someone? Yeah, she just suspects it's someone here.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know who it is. Because you're right. If they knew it was Cal, you would think they would want him to come in.
Right.
We still don't know what the Millennium Clock is going to do. I think we're going to find that out.
Well, hey, it's a time machine. Or no,
yeah,
it's just a clock, right?
Yeah. I can't remember. I can't remember because at the official Watchmen podcast,
right,
the guy, the interviewer says, because we still don't know what the Millennium Clock does, and Lindelof says, final episode. I mean, she answered questions,
yeah,
and then he said which episode you'll hear them in,
okay,
which was really funny at the very end. So
it's a good way of giving the answers without giving the answers.
Exactly, yeah.
That's like, look, it's coming. It's in this episode, but I'm not going to tell you what it is.
Right. Like, I think he said that, like, we wouldn't find what happened, what landed till the final episode.
Yeah.
But,
I wish more people would do that in response to say,
yeah,
they don't, because they're always kind of hem and haw about this kind of stuff. And they say, well, I'm not going to tell you what it is because you're just going to have to wait and see.
Yeah.
But we don't know for sure that it's coming, but it feels more certain if you say, oh, it's going to be in this episode.
Yeah. And I do think one of the things, and we've talked about this before, I've used, Vince Gilligan for Breaking Bad. They broke down the whole season before they started filming one episode.
Right.
And he said that is a luxury that very few series have. But it appears HBO, because they are massively successful, you can do that. Okay, we're going to let you, because we don't have this weekly content we have to churn out. You go through there, make your show, and I wish DC would do that with Titans.
Yeah.
That they'd say, okay, write your whole series, come through it, then go through it again. Where do you need to change to make this as a tight of season as you can? So I'm loving this. And, we don't know. They have set up a lot of clues about Cal, including the Excalibur blueprints.
Yes.
Because it is, Laurie's ex.
Yes.
And his name is
Cal Abar.
Abar.
Yes.
So ex-Cal Abar.
Yeah, that was one of the things Lindelof says, that was an Easter egg kind of to give you a hint that he was Dr. Manhattan. And I think a lot of people kind of latched on to that.
Yeah.
So it's like an ex-Cal Abar. So he used to be Cal Abar.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that we talked about last episode is Lindelof is saying, look, there's a lot of smart people out there, and we have to play fair. And if you play fair, there's a good chance people are going to figure out what you're trying to do beforehand. And that's okay, because I would rather than figure out what we're going to do beforehand than cheat, not give them the necessary clues, and then just pull it out like, oh, there you are.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, and it also makes fans feel better that, hey, I was smart enough to figure this out.
Right.
So they feel better about themselves watching the show.
And if you didn't figure it out, kind of like The Sixth Sense, I go back to that,
as one of the people who figured it out during the movie.
Yeah. See, I didn't. Yeah. And after the fact, you went, oh my God, it was all there to be seen.
Yes.
So, yes.
Yeah, that was a little side note. So I really pissed off my wife, Laurie, and my friend Tom Gibson, because Tom, and we were watching this movie for the very first time. None of us had seen the movie.
Yeah.
And I figured out about 2/3 of the way through the movie that Bruce Willis wasn't talking to anyone directly.
Yeah.
Or no one was talking back to him directly. Yeah. So I figured, I was like, oh, Bruce Willis is dead. Mm-hmm. And I mentioned this to Tom, and that's the twist. And I mentioned that to my wife, and I whispered over to them in the movie theater, and they kind of shot me this look like, oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Like they knew I was right, but they're just like, oh, why did you have to tell me that? Yeah. So it kind of became a running joke after that about me spoiling that movie for them. It's like, well, it's right there if you paid attention. Absolutely,
yes.
Yeah. So, all right. So Angela, back to our discussion with Cal. She breaks out of the Trieu facility. She's like, okay. Red Scare and Pirate Jenny try to stop her. She's like, screw you. Plows right through their little blockade. And she rushes home. We see the 7th Cavalry is watching her house. If you notice that.
Yes, I did.
So that's very disturbing. She goes inside, starts rummaging through the cupboards, pulls out a claw hammer.
Yes.
As Cal comes into the kitchen. And, she talks about how she always knew this day would come, but Cal doesn't remember this discussion. And, Cal wonders if they talked about it before the accident. Angela says there was no accident.
Right.
Which is something that was confirmed, I guess, in the Pedia hospital report.
Yeah.
It was a lie that they could be together.
Yes. And she says if it's worth it, it was your idea.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she says that Cal's like, okay, you're just confused from all the nostalgia you OD'd on.
Right.
But then she calls him John.
Yes.
Obviously a direct reference right there to John Osterman, the real name of Dr. Manhattan. And she says he's not himself, and she hits him right in the head with a hammer. Whack.
Yes.
And she kneels over him, starts pounding on his forehead. Mm-hmm. So breaking through his skull, apparently, to pull out something. And she pulls out this metal Dr. Manhattan symbol.
Yes.
And interestingly enough, because it's essentially a helium representation of a helium atom. The basic, the first element, and it's a circle with a dot in the middle. And and interestingly, there's a dot in the middle. It's just kind of levitating there in the middle of the circle. And so she pulls that out, and then Cal's skin starts glowing blue. Because you see that bluish light reflected on Angela's body, her face, her face and her hand, her bloody hand.
Yeah.
And Angela tells them they're in trouble. So and that's our cliffhanger. So so there's the revelation that apparently Dr. Manhattan has been hiding out inside Cal.
Yes.
Without Cal even knowing that he's Dr. Manhattan, presumably.
Yeah.
What did you make of that revelation?
Well, it makes sense if and that's, I won't say it's a trope, but that's been seen often where you hide your actual persona so deep that you don't even know it's there,
right?
Because you can't stay in character all the time if you have those feelings, right? You can't. He would be able to be, I guess, identified or found. It's a wonder why she could remember as well.
Yeah.
Because that would seem like that would be...
She's known all this time, presumably.
Yeah. So I'm seeing online that people think that he may have saved her during the White Night. I stand by your theory that it was Judd who attacked her, and he did not want to kill her because he cared about her.
Right.
And also, I think knew he could manipulate her to be part of his, ongoing. To
help fuel the. Well, you figure that maybe now, looking back now with the information we got from Joe Keane, is that maybe Judd realized that Angela could be one of those heroes.
Yes.
In masks that Joe Keane wants to create.
Yes.
So we'll see. Hopefully we'll get some more information about that. But at very least, obviously, next episode we're going to find out exactly the events of how Dr. Manhattan became Cal. So we'll see about that. All right. Anything else about this episode before we move into our favorite lines?
So you did not cover this in the topic. I just thought the trial was a little silly.
Ozymandias, because I don't think there was enough to really cover in the topic.
Yeah. I just didn't. I mean,
essentially
the prosecutor's summation I thought was really well done.
Right.
And then to have him, pass gas and then a bunch of pigs come in, I don't know if it was needed for the episode.
No, it was just. I think it was just. It's essentially this prison, this hell that where Ozymandias resides. Yeah. And so he's tormented by these, the whole trial was just a way to torment. Now, whether he arranged that trial himself or it was arranged for him, it still torments him, because you saw that little single tear down his face as he's proclaimed guilty.
And this took a whole year.
Yeah, this trial took an entire year. So he's been there a long, long time.
Yes, he has.
And, it's just... I think it maybe the tear was just that he realizes that he's not able to escape.
Yeah, I agree.
On his own.
All right.
So
you got any final thoughts?
Nope, that's it.
Okay, good.
Obviously, we'll talk more next week. But
okay, good.
So favorite lines. What was your favorite lines this week?
So I've got a couple. Okay. I love that when Laurie is talking to Judd's wife.
Right.
And she goes, I didn't think Angela had any family. And Laurie's, we all have family. Some of them we just don't want to talk about.
Right.
I thought that was a pretty good line.
That was a good line, considering her mom is the original Silk Spectre. Yes.
Yes. And then my only other line, and I'm looking forward to the ones you got, but I did love Keane going, the scales have tipped way too far, and it's extremely difficult to be a white man in America right now. So I'm thinking I might try being a blue one.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I'm thinking I might try a blue one. In current society, there's a lot of people that believe that first sentence.
Yes.
Which is
silly. Which is very unsettling.
Yes, it is.
It is a horribly racist statement because you're just basically saying, oh, well, white people aren't getting their due anymore.
Yes.
Especially when they get topics of diversity or, especially like I see this a lot in forums and discussions on Facebook and whatnot, where they're talking, like if there's some casting news and it's not like a white, or especially if it's a non-white actor playing a white character, traditionally white character. And so they're just, like, oh, it's, it's just the white man being replaced, which is just horribly racist.
Yes.
And obviously,
even though for generations, white people,
right,
Caucasians played people of other ethnics.
Yeah. So
yes.
like what the past 100 years of filmmaking didn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
That white people didn't get their shot. I don't get that.
I don't get it either. Yes.
And I'm saying
All
this
right.
as a white guy. I don't get
Yeah,
that.
me too. Yeah. All right. So what do you got? You got a couple for us?
Yeah. Laurie, and that's, talking with Jane, I thought she had a very profound statement. She says, and a very unsettling statement, but it's very observant. She goes, I mean, this is a guy who inspired 2 generations of heroes, my folks and myself included. But he had to hide who he was, because white men in masks are heroes, but black men in masks are scary.
Yeah.
And, that's how society views them.
And one of the other things I really liked is, because we go to Pedia, and I hope everyone does, we knew that everyone now knew that Hooded Justice was, her grandfather and all this. But I loved her showing the tape so that if you had not gone to Pedia, you still could have seen, oh, okay, that's how they all know this, because she's been able to, when she talked, she was under the nostalgia, she was talking nonstop, and that's how they were able to get that. So, yeah.
Jean had a good quote, when she talks about, finally admits to what's going on. She goes, I'm sorry. Was I not supposed to confess yet? You've just been going on and on and on.
Yes.
So I thought that was a good quote.
Yes.
Angela and Lady Trieu, where Angela says, and your life's work is turning on your big crazy gizmo so that you can save humanity. And Lady Trieu responds, you make it sound ridiculous when you say it like that.
Yes. Yeah, I love that.
Kind of irked that Angela would just dismiss her big project.
Absolutely.
Laurie's statement, which you talked about earlier, where she's talking with Joe Keane, and she goes, I'm tired, Joe. I'm tired of all the silliness. You want me to ask you why I'm strapped to a chair in an abandoned J.C. Penney, or what that cage is for? Fine. Just know that I don't give a shit. So,
yeah,
it's great. I love that line. And then Angela's final line at the end of the episode, hey, baby, we're in effing trouble.
Yes. So I'm really looking forward to seeing, because we have established that John can change his affections.
Yes.
He originally he had that first girlfriend, the one who's
Janie Slater. Slater, yeah.
Then he moved to Laurie, and now then it appears Angela.
Right.
So I think I'm really looking forward to seeing this reveal.
Right.
And how much are they going to show Dr. Manhattan?
Right.
I'm looking forward to seeing this.
I want to see Laurie's reaction to the fact that Angela is married to Dr. Manhattan.
Yes, absolutely.
Her old boyfriend.
Yes.
So that should be and maybe explain why they've been kind of bristly with each other from the
absolutely
get-go.
Yes.
All right. What's your rating for this one?
I'm gonna give it 9 out of 10 sleeping elephants. Nice. My only criticism is the trial part, and that's very, very little.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Yeah, I'm giving this one a little bit of a downgrade. Not much though. I give it 8.5 out of 10 Dr. Manhattan puppets.
Nice, I like that.
The marionettes, whatever you want to call them. So
good.
because obviously that was a pretty important, especially if you're a fan of the comic book series and like that quote I mentioned earlier.
Absolutely.
All right, Phantom Zone news, just really quickly. Apparently at Brazil's Expo CCXP, Kevin Feige, the president of Marvel Studios, revealed that Moon Knight, Miss Marvel, and She-Hulk will all be ready for the Disney Plus digital service towards the end of next year. So we're getting them a little sooner than expected.
Nice.
So another good reason to get that Disney Plus subscription. At least toward next year. So I'm really looking forward to Moon Knight and She-Hulk. I'm big fans of those characters, so
yes,
I'm looking forward
absolutely.
to that. All right, we don't have any fan mail again.
I do have one piece of fan mail.
Ooh, tell us.
So, friend of the show, Ken Schaefer,
right,
and I go to lunch every week, and Ken does everything by shifting. Like, he doesn't watch anything live. He waits till the DVDs comes out. Yeah, he binges everything.
Yeah.
And I told him, I know you. I'm saying you should break your rule. You should watch Watchmen. This is really good.
Did he do it?
So he said yes, and he sent the email. I didn't think I could hate a world more than I hate Gillihead, Handmaid's Tale, but I think I may hate the Watchmen world more. At least I hate Tulsa just as much.
Okay.
Kid. So I will find out more with him, but his initial thought is, boy, Tulsa is a bad place to live.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to hearing what he had to say. But
yeah, I can't imagine this show is doing wonders for Tulsa's tourism industry.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So great. Well, if people wanted to give us feedback, how could they?
Yeah, you can write to us at phantomzonecast@gmail.com. That's phantomzonecast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. Dying to know your thoughts on Watchmen or the upcoming Crisis on Infinite Earths event coming up on the CW that we're also going to be talking about. And so please write in, tell us what you think, and or just if you're enjoying the show, just let us know that what your thoughts are. We'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, you can reach us on Twitter at PhantomZoneCast on Twitter, or Facebook, the Phantom Zone Podcast, or on Instagram. Just drop us a line there at Phantom Zone Podcast on Instagram. And Jesse, where can they reach you?
So you can find me on Twitter at Jesse Jackson DFW. You can find me on Facebook under Jesse Jackson in Louisville, Texas. You can hear me talk Doctor Who, soon to be weekly. Yes. It appears on Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast, where Charles and I delve into all old, new and classic Who, and it appears that we are about to get new Who on a regular basis starting in 2020. So I'm very excited about that.
Starting January 1st, 2020.
Yes.
Just in a few weeks.
Yes, so very excited about that. You can catch up with us. We have one episode left of this season of Titan Talk, where Charles and I are going to be joined by special guest DJ Nick, and we're going to review the second full season of Titans, the DC Universe Direct, where we kind of talk about a up and down season, but it'll be fun talking about it. And I definitely do think if you should check out Titans on the DCU. It is certainly worth watching. And then I am also continue to do Set Listing Bruce, the Bruce Springsteen podcast, and where I talk to Bruce Springsteen fans from around the world. And my Keith R.A. DiCardio interview comes out this week as we're recording this. And he talks a little bit about his writing and some of his Star Trek work. So that'll be a lot of fun.
Okay.
And Charles, how about you?
Looking forward to it. So as for me, at Charles Skaggs on Twitter, at Charles Skaggs on Instagram, Facebook, Charles Skaggs in Hilliard, Ohio, and my blog of geek things. Come on, you.
Damn good coffee. And hot.
Damn good coffee and hot. Where I talk about all the stuff we talk about here on the Phantom Zone podcast. So your Watchmen, your Crisis on Infinite Earths, all kinds of comic book sci-fi news, news of my other podcasts that I do for Southgate Media, including Deep Breath, Next Stop Everywhere, the Doctor Who podcast that Jesse just mentioned, where we talk about all kinds of Doctor Who, Torchwood, Sarah Jane Adventures, and more. And Titan Talk, the Titans podcast that I also do with Jesse, where obviously we talk about the DC Universe Titans. series, and we'll be talking Doom Patrol Season 2 sometime in 2020. That's coming up. So we'll be bringing Titan Talk back for that. Obviously, we're going to be doing our Season 2 wrap-up special that Jesse talked about with DJ Nick. And then Ghostwood, the Twin Peaks podcast that I do with Zan Sprouse, wife of comic artist Chris Sprouse. We're talking about all things David Lynch, Twin Peaks, and all kinds of pop culture references. Had lots of fun. And we finally got an episode out after guest starring on the Why Is This a Thing podcast, where we kind of did a Ghostwood crossover episode.
Oh,
with
nice.
them because they invited us on where they wanted us. They were going to talk about why, Twin Peaks Fire Walk with Me, the movie based off of Twin Peaks, the prequel movie to the series, TV series. They wanted to talk about that, but they didn't feel like they were expert enough in Twin Peaks. So they invited us on to kind of help guide them through the discussion and share our thoughts. And so that was very fun. So yeah, please check out Why Is This a Thing? And I posted the link for that on our Ghostwood Facebook page, Ghostwood the Twin Peaks podcast, and pinned it to the top of the page if you want to check that out.
Good.
So highly recommended. We had a lot of fun, and the guys, Nico and Nick, were very, very lovely.
That's good. That sounds great.
All right. So next time on the Phantom Zone, the penultimate episode of Watchmen, or at least Watchmen.
You love saying penultimate.
I love saying penultimate. It's one of my favorites. And also, or season 1 or series, we'll find out.
Yes.
So the title is A God Walks into a Bar. Or if you want to look at that title a little differently, a God walks into a bar, as in a God walks into Cal Abar.
I like what you did there. I have to believe
that's why
that
they did
is
that.
On purpose.
Right.
Yes.
So presumably now that we have an idea of what's coming up, that this will be the story of how Dr. Manhattan got inside Cal Abar's body.
Yeah.
So, and that's Watchmen episode 8. Now, the question is whether that's going to come before or after our upcoming Crisis on Infinite Earths parts 1, 2, and 3 discussion, where we're discussing the first 3 chapters of the big CW Crisis Arrowverse Crisis crossover events. Part 1 is tonight as we're recording this, where we're going to talk about, we're going to review Supergirl, and then part 2 is tomorrow night, Batwoman, and then part 3 is The Flash. But we're going to talk about all 3 parts in a kind of a special, and we're going to be doing that. And now the question is when we're going to record this. We're going to have to talk about that with Nick today to arrange this and figure this out. So stay tuned for that. We'll see if that comes before or after our next Watchmen episode.
Okay.
So, but otherwise, just keep looking for both, because I think they're both going to be really great discussions. Jesse, anything else before we sign off?
Nope, not at all. I'm excited. I'm excited to how Watchmen's going to bring it home. I'm excited about Crisis. This is going to be fun. Yep.
So we're in the home stretch. Just 2 more episodes of Watchmen to go. Come on back next time for A God Walks into a Bar right here on the Phantom Zone podcast. Goodbye, everybody.